Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. International break is upon us again, and it's been a few match days since I've done the Serie A review of the match days, match day 7. So it's time to do that because of this another stupid international break. And since we've done our last Serie A review, the table has started to look much more familiar. The teams that we expected to be in the top 4 are in the top 4. Actually, since this last match today, Lazio and Udinese have remained up there, and Milan have been kicked down. Before that, it was Napoli, Inter, Juventus, Milan, the top 4 that I predicted, and I think most people would have predicted. But now, Lazio and Udinese continuing with a kind of surprise start to the season. And actually, before we do the matchday review, I want to get into my team of the season, way too early team of the season up until match day 7. And said I was going to do it in my last live stream. And here it is. I tweeted it out. And again, it's match day 7. There's so many places up for grabs, really. I don't think there's any. The only, I think, players that you cannot move here are definitely Nuno Tavares, because this guy is the top assister in the league. I think 4 assists in a row. He's taken this league by storm. And I'm quite surprised by it as well. Like, I know he had potential, but the way he's impacting Serie A at the moment in this rebuild Lazio, it's so impressive, amazing. And obviously the 2 top scorers at the moment, Retegui and Thuram, I think they're just unmovable. And then before them, just below them, Pulisic with 5 goals, and he's got multiple assists as well. He had to be in there. I think after that, you can kind of maybe argue about here and there, but I think Lukaku also had to be in there. He's not top scorer, but I think he is top assister alongside Nuno Tavares, or near the top. I think he's got 4 goals and 3 assists, or the other way around. But anyway, not just the goals and assists, he's just become already central to Napoli's play, and there's no surprise. We know, especially as Inter fans, we know how much Conte loves Lukaku. Lukaku loves Conte. It's that love story that will never end. And then, Napoli's midfield, you could also put in Anguissa, who's had a resurgence under Conte. McTominay, even though he's only signed recently, but I go for my very biased pick of Lobotka. I just love him. And then next to him, you could have a lot of players. As I said, I don't think any of the Inter midfielders at the moment deserve to be in there. Maybe you could have said Barella. You could have sneaked in there, but you could have had Locatelli in there. Maybe you could have had Samuel Ricci, even Ivan Ilic. But I put in Locatelli, who is having a nice return to form under Thiago Motta. I've always been a big fan of Locatelli. I think he was the biggest sufferer, as you could say, of Allegri Ball. But I think now he might be the biggest one, or the best example of what Thiago Motta's football looks like. Ismaili, I think, at the back. One of Empoli's defenders had to be there, because until this match day, they were unbeaten still, and their defensive numbers were unreal. So they deserve some credit. So Ismaili is the leader of that Empoli defense. You could put him there. Viti or Gochlidze, the other 2 guys from the Empoli midfield, also impressive defense, I meant. And at the back, could have been Bremer or Gatti, who, Juve conceded 0 goals up until this match day, and still only 1, so definitely had to be in there. At the back, Inter, I think Bastoni or Di Marco have been the most standout players, but because it's 3 centre-backs, I'll always leave it to Bastoni. And then Milinkovic-Savic, I think he had to be one Torino player we had to put in there. They've been really impressive. Couldn't sneak in an Udinese player. You guys let me know if there's an Udinese player we could have sneaked in there. Outside of Tovan and Luca, I don't think individually there's been many standout performers, to be honest. But yeah, maybe Torino could have been Sal Coco as well. The centre back could have been there. Buongiorno could have been there. But I tried to keep it quite balanced. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on that. But let's get into the match day 7 review. It was been a fun match day. Let's start with the last match of the match day, the one I watched. And yeah, for neutrals, this was a feast. It was such a fun game. 3 penalties, guys. 3 penalties, and all of them missed. The fact that it was 3 penalties already is crazy, but the fact that all 3 penalties were missed is even crazy. I know that it happened in La Liga just the other day as well. Gazzaniga saved 3 penalties, but here, David De Gea, who Man United fans will tell you is not known to be a penalty specialist, saved 2 in a row. And Moise Kean got his one saved by Mike Mignon. But yeah, Paulo Fonseca talked about it in the post-match. It's getting a bit ridiculous now, the penalties, isn't it, guys? Like, I am definitely a person that's in favor of VAR and all the, additions that are being put into football now. But now we're just giving penalties for every single touch in the box. Like, I know, Hakan gave a similar penalty the other day into Torino. Player gets to him first, gets to the ball first. Hakan hits him underneath. Obviously, slow motion, everything. You can see that guy touches the ball first. Hakan gets him afterwards. Penalty. Same thing happened here for the Fiorentina penalty. I think it was Theo Hernandez on Dodo. Theo Hernandez, by the way, had an awful, awful birthday. Gave away a penalty, missed the penalty, lost the game, lost his head because he got a red card at the end as well. So happy birthday, Theo. And then on the other hand, the exact same thing happened. Moise Kean himself also gave away a penalty by doing the same thing on Gabbia. So yeah, I think all players need to do now is just make sure they get to the ball first, even if they kick it away anywhere, even if you're a striker and you're just like kicking it for a throw in, but just get to it first and make sure the guy hits you and you get a penalty. It's getting a little bit ridiculous now, but makes for good spectacle, I guess. And then De Gea, what a performance! He might also maybe deserve a little shout for potentially being in the team of the season until now. Even though at the beginning it was Terracciano starting, I wasn't convinced by some of his performances actually. De Gea, but yesterday's was amazing. Just even outside of the penalties, he made some good saves. But yeah, Theo Hernandez, Tammy, both of them, as Fonseca says, not designated penalty takers, taking the penalties instead of Pulisic. Maybe it's the fact that Pulisic doesn't speak Italian and he might not have that gravitas and charisma in the dressing room to get those penalties for himself. But that's a lack of discipline that needs to be sorted out. And we've seen that already a couple of times before already this season with Fonseca. Is he able to get this dressing room under him? But, this is on the players, not even on Fonseca, giving away silly penalties and not scoring them. Let's move to Rome, the capital of Italy. The two teams having contrasting seasons up until now. Lazio much more stable, much more consistent. And yesterday they got another win on their belt. Pedro back-to-back goals he scored in the Europa League, and then he scored yesterday in the last few minutes a nice winner to finally defeat this Empoli team who were undefeated up until now. Great finish. Now Lazio looked like they were going to be stifled and kept quiet by this Empoli team, but in the end they managed to get the job done. Esposito, good to see as an Inter fan, him continuing to have a positive season, getting the first goal. But then Lazio, with their quality coming through, Rovella's having a good season. He spoke that he's disappointed that Spalletti still hasn't called him up to the national team, which I understand. And Nuno Tavares with another assist. It's just he's on a crazy run at the moment. But on the other end, if we look at Roma, they look like they were on the way to another victory, but it wasn't to be. Dovbyk gets another goal. It was a great goal, actually. Went past a guy, bullied physically, and then finally got his shot in and scored. He ignored Pellegrini completely, as you can see. He's still wondering if he's going to get the ball passed to him, but he was never passing to him. But in the end, Monza make a comeback, maybe saving momentarily Nesta's job. I think I still stick with my prediction. I think he's going to be the first manager fired in Serie A if it's not going to be Di Francesco. And overall, actually, on reflection here, they created even slightly more XG than Roma. But yeah, Roma under Juric, I think things will sort themselves out. He is a good coach, but the table right now isn't looking to them favorably. But I think they need to stick with it. Stick with Juric, give him faith. He will sort them out defensively for sure. It's just going forward. It's still the issue of Dybala, Sule, Pellegrini, how those issues that we talked about since the beginning of the season. So that's the two contrasting seasons. But they're only 3 points behind Lazio, so things can change very, very quickly if Roma get back on track. Sticking in the south of Italy, a little bit further south of Rome, Lukaku is continuing his love story with Serie A and Conte. As you can see with the heat maps, the way he's getting involved is Napoli team. He is coming deep. He's holding up the ball, just as Conte always wants him to do. And he's doing it well. Got a goal from a penalty. He's now, at Roma, he wasn't the penalty taker anymore, but at Napoli, they're all pretty awful penalty takers. So now he's returned to being a penalty taker, slotted it away, and then also got an assist for David Neres. And Napoli sitting pretty at the top of the table, which is no surprise. We know Conte is a monster when it comes to league football. This is his bread and butter. With no Europe, Napoli are definitely one of the main candidates that Inter, as Scudetto favourites, need to watch out for. How long can they keep this going for? They had the one loss at the beginning of the season. Now they're unbeaten since then. Let's see. And let's see how they do in the bigger games as well. But at the moment, against the smaller teams, they're getting the job done very, very nicely. And Conte, must give him a shout out. This guy, over the years, we know him as the 3-5-2 till death guy. But he saw the players that he has on Napoli, also the players that he signed. And I talked about it in my previous match day reviews. There was a lack of solidity, especially through the midfield. I don't think Lobotka and Anguissa can hold a midfield two by themselves, especially Lobotka. So there was that fragility in the middle. But Conte's addressed this with the formation change. So he's moved away from his traditional 3-5-2 to pretty much a 4-3-3 or a 4-3-2-1, however you want to look at it, to integrate McTominay in there, who's, been a fantastic signing until now, much more solid. And this formation suits the players a lot more, because the only way you're going to get two wingers in this team is either 3-4-3 or 4-3-3. So it's good to see that, usually claims to be, Conte is a famous quote that he says a coach has to be like a tailor that tailors the suit depending on the player. But I always thought, out of focus, but I always thought that he's never actually lived up to that comment, because he always makes the team suit him in the 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, regardless of what players he's got. But actually this time around, he's actually living up to that quote, so fair play to him. And also, actually, going back, I forgot to mention, Fiorentina, as much as, we'd criticized Milan's performance, shout out to Palladino, who, again, he's a 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3, 3-5-2 at Monza. He tried at the beginning of Fiorentina, but yesterday it was much more of a, 4-4-2, really. Colpani on the wing, on the right wing, Moise Kean and Goodmanson up front. Gosens and Dodo as the fullbacks. Of course, it's a little bit flexible when they're in possession, but it seems to suit the team a lot more than the three at the back formation. So again, with Italian coaches, I do want to give shouts out to these two for not actually just sticking to the guns right until the end and actually making the changes when necessary. On the other end, not doing quite as well, but actually bouncing back finally, Atalanta, Retegui. As I said, he's in my team of the season till now because, he's been scoring for fun at the moment. He's actually proving me wrong when Retegui signed for Atalanta. I was like, I'm not sure about this. He doesn't really add too much outside of his goals. But actually, his all-round game has actually improved a lot recently. And he's scoring just as we expected in terms of goal scoring. I never doubted him. And against his old team, Genoa as well, winning man of the match, getting the match ball. So he didn't even get to celebrate his hat-trick properly because he's, couldn't celebrate against Genoa. Genoa actually a little bit in trouble. Gilardino, he is a really good coach. I do rate him, but he wasn't backed in the summer. But at the moment, they're languishing near the bottom of the table. Where are they? Second bottom? Let's have a quick look. Third bottom, just a point above Monza and Venezia. So, Gilardino needs to turn things around. Obviously, Malinovsky's injury was a big problem for them as well. Moving on, Juve. I thought this was going to be a guaranteed win for Juve, Cagliari at home, but actually it wasn't to be. Vlahovic scores a penalty early on and also gives a shout out to Bremer, who suffered his ACL injury. And then he was also a reason why they didn't win this game. I mean, what a awful miss by Dusan Vlahovic. Literally, a penalty in movement. I don't know. I do not know how he missed that. 24 million a season he's getting paid for this. And then in general, he was Mina, who is, a shithouse defender, got into his head, was speaking to him the whole game, made fun of him after he missed that. Physically bullied him as well. And on the other end, they got a late penalty. Douglas Luiz, who has been a bit of a disaster up until now, their 50, 60 million euro signing, gives away another penalty, which he did already in the Champions League. And Razvan Marin tucks it away. And then Conceição was accused of diving. I think it was quite harsh. He already was on a yellow, got a yellow card for diving, was sent off. I don't think it was a penalty, but I don't think it was a dive. I think it just should have left. The referee should have just left it as it was. But yeah, a bit of controversy there. And Juve don't manage to go top and remain 1 point below Inter in the league, which obviously I'm happy about, but interested to see how things develop. And finally, they bloody conceded a goal, even though it's still a penalty. And then closing comments, on other teams, Venezia, as we know, 5 losses, only 1 win. They're in big trouble, but their squad is Serie B level. I don't really know how much I can blame Di Francesco here. Hellas Verona, 0 goal difference, no draws, so they only win or lose. And they're not doing too bad at the moment, nicely in the kind of mid-table. And Udinese remain in the European spots, very, very surprising with a solid 1-0 win against Lecce. How long can they keep this going for? I have no idea. And then, Bologna somehow didn't take advantage of a 10-man Parma, who have a big issue with red cards this season. I think that was their 3rd red card in 7 games. Yeah, they need to sort that out. But Bologna, under Italiano, they do not look good. They do not look good. They were carried by some Santiago Castro bangers recently. But outside of that, they're not creating chances. They're not creating XG. And this is what Italiano football at least is supposed to do. But they're not doing that. So I'm worried about them. But yeah, this is a nice way for Serie A to go into the international break. Very much more open than other leagues. And I'm enjoying it. You guys, let me know in the comments down below what you make of this league up until now. Who is the favorite? Are you think Napoli can go all the way, or they're just a flash in the pan? Are Inter still favorites? Can Lazio keep this going? Can Udinese keep this going? Is Fonseca in trouble again? Did Inzaghi let Fonseca win the derby just to keep Fonseca in the job? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed that. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Oh yeah, and obviously, team of the season. I want to see your teams of the season as well in the comments down below. Ciao ragazzi. Forza Serie A.